Hey guys, welcome to your Python programming, and in this we're going to first have a look at the overview of the course. So basically we're going to have a look at what we are going to cover and how our journey is going to be through this entire Python programming language course. Alright, so let's have a look. So when we start off, the very first thing we're going to see is why do we need Python and what is Python. Once we complete that, we'll have a look at Python IDE, which is the development environment for it, and how you can access it in your system as well. Once that is done, we'll move on to creating a Hello World program. As you all know, it's one of the first programs that anyone creates when they learn a new language. So that is something you'll be covering in there. Once that is done, we'll learn how to incorporate numbers and math functions, where we'll see how we can do mathematical problems and solve them over there. After that, we look at the common errors that occur in Python. So there are multiple types of errors that could be possible, like syntax error, index error, and so on. So we look at all of those different types. After that, we'll move into variables and names. In variables and names, we learn how to assign variables, and we'll also see the different types of it. Alright, once that's done, we look at strings and how you can create a string. Along with this, the next part will be your conditional statements. In your conditional statements, we'll see all the different types of conditional statements, like your if expression and then your if else statement, and how you can make use of these in a code. Once this is done, we learn how you can create a function. So functions are a smarter way to code, which lets you save your time. So you'll see this as and when we progress. So you'll see how to write functions, then how to execute them, and how do you call for a function in Python. Then we'll move on to for and while loop. In the for and while loop, as the name suggests, we learn how to use the for loop and how to use the while loop and maintain a certain looping function inside it. Once that is done, we'll move into a function as an argument. So when you write a function, there is a way to also pass an argument through it so that a certain code is executed. So we'll see that in functions as arguments. After that, we learn how to create list, tuples, and dictionaries. Once that is done, we look at list comprehension. So you'll understand all of these things and you'll see how to iterate through a list and apply a filter on it, or a manipulator on it. Okay, so that is something we'll be covering inside list comprehension. Once that is complete, we'll move on to the next part. So the first part in it is file handling. Inside file handling, you'll basically be learning how you can open a file, read a file, write, execute any type of file. Okay, so that will be step out. Once that is complete, we'll also look at debugging watch variables. Once the entire debugging part is complete, we'll go into class and objects. So inside class and objects, since we know that Python is an object-oriented programming language, there is a certain construct in it which is called a class. And this class lets you structure your software in a certain way. Alright, so we'll see how to work with classes and objects over there. Once we complete classes and objects, we look at lambda, filters, and maps. These are a little bit of an advanced function, but they're very fun and you'll really enjoy them. After which we look at the pip functions inside Python, which are the packages, and how you can manage them, before we move on to reading Excel data and also seeing them into your Python code. So we look at how we can work with an Excel file and how we can import a data from an Excel file or a worksheet and bring it into Python. After that is done, we'll move on to Python SQL. We look at how you can install MySQL lab into it, and along with looking at all the select queries and so on. Then we'll move on to the last three parts, where the first one will be iterators, where, as the name suggests, lets you iterate over a certain thing, right? So we look at iterations and iterators over there. After which we'll move into pickling, and then finally we'll move into a Python JSON. So JSON, as you know, is a JavaScript oriented notation. So we look at how you can parse a JSON into a Python dictionary or a list. Alright, so that will be everything that we'll be covering in our Python course. So hope to see you in the next lecture. Thank you.